So this one's going to be way too long. Let's talk about the damn red dress that nearly drove me crazy. So I think in the beginning we had planned something of a beatnik look for the murder victim. Might have been someone else. Someone was supposed to be beatnik. I think it was supposed to be the role Tamara, who was going to be killed. At some point, Julie suggested we make a red dress for her so that she kind of sticks out, and color symbolism and everything. I was like, yeah, that's a bit on the nose, but it's a good idea. Here are some of the images in the background that we put in the Dropbox, or she put in the drop. I wasn't so cool with the idea of that being a 60s dress. Because if there's one thing that I think really clashes with 20s lines, then it's 60s lines, and I don't know, it just really doesn't work for me. Maybe I'm the only one. So anyway, I was tasked with sewing this because, idiot me, I thought I had more time than the other two. Turns out I didn't. I got swamped with work last minute. So yeah, I had this idea at one point of just making it a 20s dress, because I was the one sewing it anyway. So I made this sketch that you can see in the background, and my idea was to take the symbolism bit a bit further and have this embroidery around the neckline, and in the middle of the chest there's this bead embroidery, kind of star-shaped, and there are some threads of beads hanging down, and it's supposed to look kind of like a stab wound where blood is coming out. I really liked that because, I mean, we're already doing the thing with the red dress. I thought just take it one step further. And 20s line because obvious. So I mailed the sketch to Jenny, she was okay with it, and then she was like, yeah, but ask Julie first because she's buying the fabric. So when I got my hands on Julie, she was like, oh, that's a good idea, but add sleeves. I tried that. I mean, I wasn't a fan of the idea because I thought it would kind of ruin the look, but it didn't work with the fabric in the end. I tried and it wasn't so good. I showed her the sketch, she was okay with it, and then she gave me the fabric and I was like, oh fuck. Because I actually have a hoodie in that same fabric. It's over 10 years old, so it doesn't really look quite the same, but it's the same type of fabric. It's like a thick, stretchy sweater fabric that is kind of woolly on the inside so that you stay warm, and oh my god. Also, it was a really garish shade of red. In hindsight, I have to say that was pretty much the perfect choice, but I was just holding this being like, oh damn, I don't wanna do this. But here, let's go. So, I tried it with my new sewing machine that I got, and it was terrible to sew. It was so terrible. I couldn't really make it stick in the same shape. I don't know how I was supposed to do a 60s dress out of this either, because the fabric just kind of lumps. And you can't really do those very precise 60s folds with that kind of fabric. It just really doesn't work. So I started sending everyone updates on the dress. And I think it got kind of annoying because I got kind of panicky at some point. What happened then was that it became obvious that I couldn't see the girl who was supposed to play Tamara before we started shooting, so I had to finish the dress going just by her measurements. I had never done this before, but at this point I was still sort of optimistic. I was like, yeah, let's do this. Julie put a little sketch of a person in the Dropbox, and there was this legend on the side that told Freya what parts to measure and how and everything, and she was supposed to send the measurements to me. She sent me the email, and I went to check with the little drawing in the Dropbox, and it was gone. I spent an entire evening looking for it. I thought I was going crazy at this point. I was like, where's this thing? Because I didn't know what the measurements meant. And I was going so crazy. I emailed everyone, especially Jenny. I sent her tons of emails, and she was so stressed with doing the movie. It was a couple of days before the shooting was supposed to start. And I was like, oh god. I knew how annoying I must have been to her at the time, and I'm seriously sorry, because everyone was so stressed, and me being so just not self-confident enough to just pull this off. I needed constant feedback and everything, and Julie, I'm sorry. I sent you a lot of emails too, I think. And Freya was really amazing. She was so forthcoming. She had saved the image and then she emailed it to me really quickly, and it was like, oh my god, you're my hero. So she was awesome. So it turned out she was exactly as tall as me, so at least for height I could just use myself to measure it, but she was a completely different body type. She was a lot more feminine that I had thought, because she had a very long face in her face shot, so for some reason I assumed she was a very straight, streamlined person, like the type was kind of square shaped, but she had a very curvy figure, so when I put the dress on it looked completely ridiculous because I'm that kind of square shaped torso person, and yeah, it looked really weird on me. I couldn't use myself as a sewing dummy, so that didn't work, and I could just hope that it looked good on her. So I started sewing, and it got so annoying. I had to do half the seams by hand because my sewing machine would just mess it up. And it's a good sewing machine. I don't think it was the machine. The folds wouldn't really stick. You can see that here, that kind of the fabric is so lumpy, and I had to stitch the folds down by hand like 20 centimeters so they would at least stay roughly in the same shape. And then the lower part of the folds would just get really weird. You can see it in this image. And the only thing I'm really proud of is the embroidery. I finished the bead threads last minute while we were sitting there, and everyone was building up the stuff, building up the catering, getting coffee for everyone. I'm sitting there with my pearls, chatting with the makeup people and being like, oh God, I got to finish this. Yeah, I bought some really nice pearls, by the way. Those is it beads or pearls? They're very dark red. I had the smaller ones still at home. And I also bought some sequins, being just like, yeah, those might come in handy, and I paid it out of my own pocket because I might use those for something else later, and Jenny had to pay so much stuff. She's a student, she doesn't have that much money. So what I also had to do, and you can see this here, I had to hem the skirt with sequins because making a proper seam kind of made the fabric roll up. So yeah, you can see in the silhouette, it's kind of weird. It's, yeah, I don't know, it's kind of standing out at the bottom, and it's just not good. And I had to hand stitch the shoulders too. That was really annoying. Then I had to hand stitch the zipper because I tried it with the sewing machine. I did this last, and it got really weirdly wrinkly. It had like waves sewn into it, and I cut it all up and did it all over again. I think I stayed up until 2 a.m. and then I had 4 hours to sleep, and then Jenny would pick me up in the car with her boyfriend who was driving us. It was just, oh, didn't sleep a lot. So all I could do was hope that this entire thing would look okay the next day, and I was so self-conscious about this, and I sent Jenny constant emails, and I put it onto my sister. She looked at herself in the mirror and she's like, wow, this is the ugliest effing dress I've ever seen. I was like, ah, shit. And then I thought to myself, yeah, you know what? People don't always hate things the way you hate your own work. People usually think stuff is fine even when you see all the flaws in it. All it has to do is look good on camera. That's the only thing. And I was feeling like a bitch. I kind of hated myself for 2 days. I was like, okay, seriously, fucking suck it up. Stop complaining, stop cursing, and stop trying to find something or someone to blame. Nobody is at fault. You just have to work through it and be a grown-up, because otherwise everyone else is going to suffer. So just pull it together. And for once that worked. I actually behaved like an adult for once, and I didn't throw it in a corner and start crying. I just worked through it. And it turns out in the end, when Freya put it on, it looked really neat on her. I don't know, it's something about her body, and it worked with the measurements and everything. I'd never done that just by measurements, but it really fit. I was so surprised by that. Maybe it's the way she wore it. I mean, she's an actress, she can do this kind of thing. But it looked really nice, and it really worked with her body type. And in the end, I have to say, the color was really great, because she was walking through the crowd, and everyone was supposed to, like, subconsciously know that she's going to be killed. And it works because she's wearing this really terrible shade of red, and it really looks great on camera. I didn't think it would, because in reality it looks terrible, to be honest. I would never wear this. Never. It's so not my style. And they just made something really amazing out of it. And in hindsight, I'm really, really glad that we used the kind of fluffy fabric, because Freya had to lie around in the rain with just her coat thrown over it, and we were having this outside shoot at night. It started raining, of course, the one day we're doing outside shoots. It's obviously raining. And she had to be out there for hours, and at some point they just put a blanket on the ground and they put her onto the blanket, and then she was lying there with only a tiny blanket on the wet grass and everything, lying in the rain, being filmed holding very, very still. And I think the only thing that kept her from just catching cold was the fluffy fabric. It really kept her warm. She said so herself. So that was a good idea in the end after all. But I didn't know that when I was sewing. When I was sewing, I thought it was the worst idea ever. But it turns out it was all for the best. So sometimes you just shouldn't stress that much.